You're all treasure hunters. It's a very important job. It's not about being a teacher. It's not about being a counselor. It's not about being a superintendent or assistant superintendent. Those are jobs. We're talking about responsibilities. Responsibility to find the treasures in every single child. And that doesn't come with a job description. It comes with a responsibility. And that responsibility is shared by the bus drivers, the cafeteria people, the front office people. You create a culture of treasure hunters. Everyone looking for the treasures in children. Sometimes they're deeply buried, but that's why you have to be a treasure hunter. They're not on the surface. If they were on the surface, you wouldn't need to be a treasure hunter. And what we discovered here today is the remarkable treasures that someone took the time to dig beneath the surface to find these remarkable treasures in. And I want to congratulate the treasure hunters, and you're all treasure hunters. Now I need to say that because I also need to let you know you're not the cheap treasure hunter. Because that's me. Okay, let's see if you've learned anything so far. You're all what?
Treasure hunters.
But you're not the
thief.
Because that's
you.
Okay, so far so good. Let me continue. And let me share a quick story that happened in my family. My wife recently bought a beautiful, expensive plant. How do I know it was expensive? I saw the Visa statement come across with the mail. And I said, how come you're spending so much money on this expensive plant? She says, because it's beautiful. And I said, but look how much money you spent. She says, don't worry about it. I have a perfect place in the house where I'm going to put this plant. It's going to enhance our home. So she put this beautiful plant in its expensive pot, because I saw the Visa statement on the pot she got for it as well. And she put it in a part of the house where she thought it would just bloom and blossom beautifully. And after a while, it started to wither. And she couldn't understand why it was withering. So she called the nursery and she got watering instructions and plant food instructions and cultivating instructions. And she went back, she tried everything, and the plant continued to wilt. And she was beside herself because she spent that much money. I was a little upset because she spent that much money. And yet we had to make a decision whether or not we were going to get rid of the plant. And at the 11th hour, she decided to put the plant on another side of the house. Not where she really wanted it to be, but another side of the house. And the plant began to thrive. It began to blossom, it began to grow, it began to recognize the beauty that we always knew was in it, but it just wasn't showing where she put it in the house. And sometimes I wonder if that's not true for our children too. See, sometimes we blame the kids, and sometimes the kids are just in the wrong part of the house. They just have to be in a part of the environment where they can thrive, because if we believe that they can thrive, they will thrive. The #1 finding we found in our 7-year research at Arizona State University, the #1 finding, kids succeed when they're surrounded by adults who believe they can succeed. Now you would think that would be a simple thing to do in education. When we go back and ask our educators and ask people who work with kids, do you believe all children can succeed? No exceptions on a scale of 1 to 10. Very few people circle number 10. In other words, for some reason, they have a hard time strongly believing that all kids can succeed. And yet, if you don't believe all kids can succeed, no exception, unconsciously, you may be supporting their failure. The second finding was kids succeed, as Daniel said and Dr. Don Covey said, when they have meaningful, sustainable relationships with caring adults. When kids connect, they seem to do a whole lot better in life than when they grow up anonymously. When Kids at Hope tested for that, in schools across the district, in schools across the county, we found up to 25% of the kids could not identify a single meaningful, sustainable relationship they had with a caring adult on their campus. So what's happening when we can't connect with kids? And the third finding was kids succeed when they can articulate their future at 4 destinations, as Dr. Don and Marge were able to help us identify: home and family, education, care, community service, hobbies, and recreation. And yet, when we think about our children, we say, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? We know as adults that life is much more multidimensional than what do you want to be when you grow up. So we help kids articulate their future at home and family, education and career, community service, hobbies, and recreation. And when they can do that, you've given them the ability to mentally time travel. And when you give them the ability to mentally time travel, you've created hope in them. Hope is the ability to see your future and know you can achieve it. What greater gift can we as educators, we as people who are concerned with kids, we as a community of treasure hunters can do for children? So this morning I have an award that I want to present to two people who characterize what a treasure hunter does. And those two people, I'd like them to come up, and just so that we can talk a little bit more about them. Jeannie Lynn and Derek Canada.